Oh, week 12. Oh, man. There's hurtings going around. There's questions about legitimacy. There's just, I don't know. Um, hey, the Mets are trading for Marcus Simeon from the Texas Rangers. That's some excitement because
Easy, Bucks McGee. You don't have to rush baseball season quite yet.
after this week, man, it's okay to take a peek. I think it's okay to take a peek. Yeah, some rough games, some happy times for some people. So not overall, it is what it is, sir. What's going on?
Oh, Bucks McGee, not so many happy times for our teams this week. Definitely some rough patches. We'll start with your game as it's the most fresh. And I think the biggest story in this game is the fact that your Bucks just cannot get to Matthew Stafford. He's been untouched in this.
That's the problem, and that's been the problem with this defense probably for the last 2 seasons. There's just no pass rush. The hope was that this was going to hopefully maybe get addressed in the trade deadline, but Jason Light decided he felt what we had was good, and right now, if this doesn't tell the higher ups there, the one buck place that something's got to be done, then I don't know, and maybe some people need some new jobs. I don't know, but besides the one sack by Yaya in the first quarter, it's no one can get to Stafford, and Stafford's the MVP right now. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. The man's playing incredible. If you can't shake him, if you can't hit him, he's gonna pick you apart, and that's what's going on here. So no pass rush, no win. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I'm the one part I'm a little surprised with how the Rams are attacking them is I would have thought, if anything, based on the status of your linebacking core, I would have thought that the big star would be Puka Nakua, and he is having a good game, but the one that's really bringing the house down is Devontae Adams. That poor cornerback out there for you, McCullum.
Good old Zion McCullum. One week you think he's a world beater, next week it's like he doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, and the Rams are smart that way. If they see something, they're gonna exploit it, and they can't handle Adams, and Adams is eating it. It is what it is. Um, there's really nothing else. At the end of the day, you can't get to Stafford. He's going to do his thing. 3 and outs don't do it. Unfortunately, until we get healthy, wide receiver and running back wise, this is it. So luckily, this is pretty much the end of the hard part of the schedule. We'll take this whooping as men and move on and just, try to finish up strong. But the Rams are the real deal. And if anybody was doubting them, don't do it. After they win tonight, they're going to be the number one seed in the NFC, and I don't see any other team that's going to touch them.
No, especially the way some other NFC thought to be contenders are playing right now. Are the Bucks putting too much on Baker's shoulders? Because it seems like the only success they've really had is when Baker just tucks the ball and runs right now.
That's how Baker plays. You can't stop him. That's what's got us here. You can't tell the guy nope, don't do it. What's happening is the running lanes are opening up where he can take off. He's getting the offensive line isn't holding up as well as it should, and when they're rushing him and bringing that blitz, those holes are opening. So Baker's going to take them. That's Baker's
Yeah.
game. So believe me, Baker would love to sit in the pocket and throw 40 times and light it up, but you got to get something going. So if that means he's using his legs, he's going to do it. It's not the smartest thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I would want to touch on something you brought up. I definitely agree that Matthew Stafford is the front runner for MVP at this stage of the game. And it's not just because of how well he's playing, it's the fact that the Rams as a whole have kind of gotten to that firing on all cylinders. While the defense has played extremely well, the offense is balanced. I mean, this one we haven't seen really a ton from Kyron Williams, but Blake Corum is out there making some runs up the middle and getting some space going. So it's Stafford, but it's also how this whole team is at its kind of peak.
Yeah, they've got, they play well. They're an overall complete team. The defense is young, solid, and they've got playmakers on all levels. So you can't really find a hole. I think the only hole they really have is complacency, because last week they, busted out into a big lead and kind of, almost screwed the pooch. So it's just they're their own worst enemies right now. When they've got their foot on the throat, they got to make sure they snap it. So, and I think they're going to figure that out. But like I said, right now they're head and shoulders above everybody right now.
How impressive is it to you, the fact that we were ready to bury this team a couple of years ago because they sold out all those draft picks? They didn't have a whole lot. Aaron Donald decided to up and retire out of the blue. So how impressive is it that they've continued to maintain competitiveness, and now they look like they're right back on top, ready to go for another Super Bowl?
Oh no, it's definitely impressive. They've drafted well. Like, their defense was drafted extremely well. They found a lot of gems in the later rounds. My only caveat is, they didn't think even Matt Stafford was going to play this year. Like, he had that back issue. They didn't, he basically didn't even have a preseason. So I think that's, like, they're riding high. I'm not knocking them and all, but they're going to have to start looking to the future for quarterback. Like, they really, that's something that I think it's great when you've got somebody and you don't have to worry about it. But his age, the clock is ticking. And is the question, let's say they go through, they win the whole thing this year, right? If he decides all of a sudden he wakes up one morning and says, I'm done, I'm not coming back, who do they have?
They have the Falcons draft pick, which at this point will likely be top 5, and they could be in prime position to draft a successor to Matthew Stafford.
They could. They very well could. They could. But if that guy isn't it, or if he's not the guy, then But if Stafford hangs it up, then this kid's learning trial by fire.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have that guy in place so he can sit. In a perfect world, your guy sits behind your incumbent, learns, and then takes over. If Matthew Stafford decides, March, yeah, I'm done, my back shot, yeah, you can draft the guy, but then it's who are you picking up? Now you've got to pick a guy off the scrap heap to be your bridge guy, and now your hope, So no, but I think that's the only real hole in this team is what the future quarterback situation is. But right now, they'll worry about that when it happens. They're the best team in the NFL right now, honestly.
Yeah, I think unequivocally. And your attention now turns to becoming the biggest San Francisco 49er fan on Monday night.
If they win, if the Panthers win, they win. There's still a situation where they're a good team. I think we could sweep them. I honestly do. I just think if everyone comes back healthy, I think we're a better team. But yeah, of course, I'd love the Niners to win. But unfortunately, you gotta just worry about your own stuff at this point. And who knows what the Niners are going to do? That's it. The Niners, unfortunately, are this weird wild card team where we don't know if they're even going to make the playoffs, or are they just going to play spoiler all year. Because right now their division's a two-horse race, and that's it. So it'll be interesting to see how Monday night goes for sure.
Yeah, with them barely hanging on by a thread. All right, with you licking your wounds, I need to lick my wounds as well. And this is a classic game of the Colts doing everything they could for a whole 90% of the game, and then just forgetting how to call an offensive game plan to tidy things up.
They couldn't run the ball. 54 yards, I think, for Taylor. And it was just, I don't know. It was just weird. They started out strong, and then it was just like they let the Chiefs hang around. And that's what it came down to. And regardless of what you think of the Chiefs, if you let them hang around, they've got a puncher's chance. They ran a lot of slants and such, and that's what ate up the defense. The Colts defense, it was slants, and it was just like that's where the speed killed them. That's why the Colts have these speed burners, because when they're running these slants and such. A lot of teams can't stay with it.
Yeah, and the running game was actually the opposite. You think, Taylor's been an MVP candidate this year, and he was held very much in check. The running back that stood out was Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
Over 100 yards, which hasn't been a big consistent thing for the Chiefs running attack this year. Got in the end zone. So Kareem Hunt very much helped lift the Chiefs offense in this one as well.
I was impressed. I was surprised. I was surprised that they stuck with Hunt in the run game as much as they did. I figured it just would have been a point where they were like, all right, well, this isn't working. We're just going to freaking throw the ball and just see what happens like we normally do. But no, they stayed true to it. And Hunt was the guy. He feels like he's just going to be the guy going forward. Pachenko supposedly is coming back next week, but it just seems like he's just not consistent. He'll have the one game, he'll get hurt, or it's just not there. So I think Hunt is the better fit for that offense. But yeah. I think teams are going to see this and say, okay, well, Chiefs, if this is what you guys are going to do, you want to do slants, then we'll handle it. Yep, they're 6-5. They're still climbing the mountain, though. They still, there's nothing guaranteed for them for sure. But, they were able to hang around and, pulled it out in overtime.
Yeah, he's also a much more competent receiver out of the backfield than Pacheco is.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think it just opens up their offense so much more. Their defense was decent. I think the Colts, were able to, do some things and move the ball. But when it came down to really, needing the run game, they just couldn't do it. So I think they'll probably retool a bit, try to figure that out. But, it is what it's the Chiefs, like I said, we're ready to bury them. Every week we're like, yep, this is it. But they figure out a way to kind of keep their hand from the coffin closing, but they've still got a long climb. Their schedule isn't exactly easy. They play teams like the Cowboys, and we all saw what the Cowboys did today. So there's nothing guaranteed.
No, and for me, the salt in the wound for the Colts is the fact that, our three losses have been now to the Chiefs, to the Steelers, who are first place team, and to the Rams, who, as we previously said, they're the best team in the league right now. And we're falling back now behind the Patriots and the Broncos. But of the three of us, we're the team that's been tested the most. The Patriots and the Broncos really haven't been. And that really doesn't change going into next week because we have to play the red hot Texans, the shockingly, amazingly red hot Texans. No idea how that's become a thing. And who do the Patriots and the Broncos have? Patriots are playing the Giants on Monday night, and the Broncos get Washington on Sunday night. I pray to all football gods that gets flexed out of Sunday night, because otherwise there won't be any point to talking about that one.
No, and we always say, you gotta, you can't pick who's on your schedule. You gotta play them. New England is just its own beast. I can't, I gotta give them credit. They were in a tight one. Cincy played them well, but unfortunately, Cincy screwed the pooch, and New England is the first 10-win team in the league. Who would have thought that?
Yeah.
No. If you had put money on that, it wasn't going to happen. So, at this point, like I said, when it comes to this point in the season, and if you're dropping games like that, I always say you just got to secure the division and then just see where it all falls. That's all you can do at this point. You got to learn from it. The run game was a letdown. Defense gave up some plays that they probably would love to get back, but this will hopefully help you guys down the road, because I think losing the teams that are that talented or that skilled, I think, help you out. It's great to wall up the teams that are like 2-10 or whatever, and it's like, okay, yeah, we beat up, we have this great record, but you haven't been tested yet. So
yeah,
it's it is what it is. It sucks, but you just gotta move on to next week.
Well, likewise, you said you're through the tough part of your schedule now, so are we. I think that was the last tough, quote unquote tough game we have. So
That's it. You just hope for health, and you just hope to finish up strong. That's all you can do.
So I saw an interesting note on Sunday Night Football that said this was the Bears' first win over a team with a winning record this season. Uh, but the Bears, we talked about it in the pregame show. Are the Bears legit right now? Because Caleb's everything seems to be going well for them, and
You got
they're firmly in first place right now.
you got to give them their props. You can't call them fraudulent. You can't call them anything. They're winning. They're leading the division. It's not like they're a game or two out of first place and the surprise feel good team. A lot of people, including us, we're still kind of like, okay, we'll see how this year goes. But they're playing well, 8-3. You got to give them their props. When it comes down to playing a real elite team, it's going to be interesting to see. Like if they were to play the Rams, I don't think I don't think they stand a chance in hell. But I also think that the NFC North is quite fraudulent as a whole. Like let's be real.
Oh yeah.
Not counting the Bears, but the Lions are okay, and then you got Green Bay. Oh, okay. And Minnesota's just hot mess. So, hey, the Bears have been consistent. Yeah, they've had comeback. They've had come from behind wins. But at the end of the day, they're 8-3. Got to give them their props.
Do you think there was any but about this with Aaron Rodgers not playing in this one? The Steelers were actually smart in holding him out. Or do you think the Bears would have done what they did regardless of who was under center?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I don't know. I kind of you still got to give Rodgers the benefit of the doubt somewhat. Yeah, he's not going to be slinging it 60 yards on the field all the time, but the guy still has solid touch on the ball. So probably maybe a couple plays go better than what they did. So I don't know. You play what if all you want. At the end of the day, the Bears won, but it wasn't an easy one. The Bears could have easily lost this game too. So it's I think if Rodgers plays, I don't know. I almost have to give the Bears the legitimacy and say, yeah, the Bears could have won this one regardless.
Yeah, it's weird to see a very competent Bears offense and so consistent, even if it's a little bit of a roller coaster at times, and a Bears defense that really is nothing to shine at this year.
I think what it is Caleb is slowly starting to realize, hey, I gotta be an NFL quarterback, not a college quarterback, and do my magic tricks and try to be fancy. Like I gotta stick to what I'm supposed to do, stick to the script. Ben says this is how I should play the game. That's what I'm doing. And I think you're slowly starting to see that, and he's seeing success with that. So their defense, yeah, it's got some it's not exactly top notch. They've faltered here and there, but I think they have enough talent, and along with that offense, because that offense has got pieces to it. Like I said, it's a legit offense. There's no doubt about it. They're gonna have to tighten some things up, but right now they're the class of the NFC North, and you got to give them their flowers.
Yeah. Now the class of the NFC East is still the Eagles, but the Eagles took one on the chin. The Cowboys were able to have a lot of success against Philly's defense. Pickens had a huge game. CeeDee Lamb got targeted a lot, still put up a above average performance. And Dak led them down the field for a game-winning field goal, which usually is automatic in the Brandon Aubrey playbook. So, how much trouble are the Eagles in with this one?
I think the Eagles shot themselves in the foot. They had a couple, pass interference calls, and there were just a couple plays where they just weren't there. They weren't themselves. So I give the Cowboys all the credit. Dak was slinging it. I'll give you that. Dak was slinging it, and Philly I think they shot themselves in the foot. It's one of those games, and it's a divisional game. So when you lose a divisional game, I sit there and say, well, yeah, you're supposed to split. That's what we usually say. But I think the Eagles kind of thought it was going to be an easy win. And, some of the penalties didn't need to happen. But the Cowboys look better than they did at the beginning of the season, especially that defense, because we were like, oh, this defense is going to be a hot joke. They can't run the ball. They're just going to throw the ball 50 times, and it's going to be what it's going to be. They've got a consistent run game now. After the Parsons trade and, the trade deadline, they got some pieces, but they still got some things, I think, to shore up defensively. But the Eagles just got to win. They just got to play their game. Like, don't be cute. Like, sometimes I think the Eagles are too cute for themselves. We could win anyway. Oh, you know what? Don't throw the ball, Jalen. Throw it 5 times. We're going to run. We're going to do it this way because we think we're cool and we can do anything we want. I think sometimes they get caught in that, and then it looks bad, and then you have like A.J. Brown getting mad about him not getting the ball. He got right off the rip of that game. He was getting passes. It was the A.J. Brown show. That boy was catching balls. They'll take their lick and move on, but the Eagles, I think, still own the division.
Oh, yeah. It's an interesting point about them losing their identity because yet again, another week, where's Saquon Barkley?
It's almost like whoever gets mad and pissed off and complains that next week they're getting the ball. We're going to tailor the offense to him. But you never hear Devontae Smith pissing and moaning, and he gets his like 3 passes a game, and he turns them into like 70, 80 yards, and then he goes about his business. You don't hear anything from him.
Yeah. You certainly don't hear Saquon Barkley running his mouth at all. That guy's team first all the time.
Exactly. I think after last year, he's like, whatever, I've done it all. I'm good. I think, I think them being nicked up on the offensive line kind of changed some things a little bit. I would like to see a little more run, but Nick Sirianni's going to run it the way he wants to. So I think they'll look at this and they'll love like the first half of this game. And then the second half, they're going to say, we don't know what the hell happened. Let's fix this up. And then go from there. But the big thing was definitely the pass interference calls. That really did them in second half.
And to your point, it is quite the feat to note that Dallas has climbed themselves back into playoff positioning, and at least playoff contention. And we were definitely at one point thinking like, there's no way their defense is too bad. They've lost too many games. The hole is too deep to get themselves out of.
Yeah, because we figured, okay, their defense can't stop a nosebleed. They're going to put up 35 points, but they're going to give up 40. We've basically called them the Bengals of the NFC. We were like, this is a joke right here, but they've done it. You got to give them credit. Of course, Jerry Jones is going to think he's the greatest GM who spun this around.
Yeah,
but they've got to continue just to play smart and win games. CeeDee Lamb's got to learn to catch a little bit more. He had quite a few drops today. So I think that's something to kind of keep an eye on because you're getting paid the money, man. And if you want to be the number one guy, you got to make the catches because what's going to happen is Dak's going to go, no doubt, to Pickens in the bigger moments, and then it's just going to cause some trouble in that locker room.
Yeah, do you think CeeDee's getting into his head a little bit or trying too hard to kind of reclaim the top dog spot in that receiving room? And Dak's just kind of, like you said, going with the guy that's the hot hand right now. Or is it just a situation where CeeDee's just doubled all the time and Pickett's a beneficiary of that?
No, because a lot of these drops and stuff, it's one-on-one. It's not like he's like double bracketed or anything like that. It's one-on-one. I think CD is kind of like in his head, and he's kind of like, I gotta make the catch. I gotta make the catch. I gotta make a move. I gotta turn this, 10-yard slant into like an 80-yard touchdown because I gotta prove to people that I am the number one here. what you're doing is hurting yourself. And then at that point, if you know you can just loft one up 40 yards to Pickens, and he's going to catch it one-handed, on the freaking end line there, that's where Dak's going to go. You just got to relax and just play your game, and you're going to be all right. So, but no, I think CD is in his own head, and he's just got to play ball.
Yeah, and I mean to that point, CD is a more versatile player because he can go deep and he can make a lot of yards over the middle, whereas Pickens is kind of a one-trick pony going down the field. It just so happens that one trick is working.
Yeah, and it's worked pretty much all year. So it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the offense they envisioned was CD doing all his damage in the middle and onward, and Pickens was going to be the deep guy and do his thing. But now it's like, all right, Pickens is just doing everything, and CD just can't catch a ball. CD's got to clean it up, and they'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a great week for our team's Bucks McGee, but there's still time to play our favorite game.
And it's good. Extra point, yeah. I really got to pay someone to write a jingle like for real.
One of these days we actually need a jingle for that.
I gotta get a jingle, man. If someone wants to send me something, I'll send you like $5 or something. I don't know. I'll send you some beer or something. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Just make sure you got to send me your ID, because if you're not old enough, I'm not getting in trouble for underage drinking.
That's right. We're good at beer trades.
There you go.
The first one is something you hinted at a moment ago with who's running the fraudulent penthouse of the NFC North. So the Detroit Lions, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs was an animal in this. Over 260 total yards, hat trick. So he was the goods, as he's been the goods for the majority of the season, as he's been the goods for his time in the NFL thus far. But the Detroit Lions should and you and I love Jameis Winston. He's so fun. But the Detroit Lions should not be going to overtime against the New York Giants. Whether Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart, doesn't matter who it is.
You mean Jameis Winston with his first receiving touchdown of his career? Like, I just don't get how it could happen. Like, the Lions will play teams and literally just shut them out. Teams with way better offenses and just built better overall. Jameis Winston just skips himself in there with his ragtag team of Giants and literally goes toe-to-toe, throwing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, and almost beats the Lions. Like, I don't get it. And we've talked about the Lions before like this. It just seems like at times they believe their own press. They just think they're like this unbeatable force. And I think like the press and stuff have played a part in that, because don't forget, for the longest time, they were like this, get the feel good story. They finally got into the playoffs. They finally won a playoff game in like 30 years or whatever it was. And everyone was feeling good. Now, it's been a few years, and they're supposed to be the perennial like NFC powerhouse, but they play these games and it's like, well, where's the offense? What's going on? And then it's literally fourth quarter they decide to show up. So right now, yeah, I don't believe in them. If you told me they were one and done in the playoffs coming up, I'd believe you.
Yeah, there's, especially when you consider the other, let's say they somehow win out over the Bears. The other wild card teams are the Seahawks, maybe the Cowboys. Like they're not in the NFC wild card slate is not, a bunch of backdoor playoff teams in all likelihood. The Niners, who knows if they get in. I mean, there's some decent teams out there in the wild card picture.
Oh, there is, and if they go in with this attitude of, oh yeah, we've got this, we're good, whatever, we're the Lions, rah rah rah, and next thing you know, it's third quarter and you're down by 2 scores, and your offense hasn't exactly lit it up, and they've been able to bracket, Gibbs, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
you're in trouble, because if you put the game on Goff's arm, I don't know if he delivers. I don't know if he really delivers. So they've got to figure it out. They've got to be able to play a complete 60-minute game.
That's something I've been thinking of too of late. I think the shine has dulled on Jared Goff. I mean, this is a guy that went from very good game manager with the Rams, to really all-pro level type of quarterback play in Detroit. And this year, it's down to the point where I think he's back to the point, maybe even regressed from the Rams days.
Yeah, it's almost like, okay, he does his thing, but there's nothing that's like, wow. It's like, yeah, he's consistent and all, but like you said, at the height of his powers, it was like, okay, he's going to become an all-pro. We are seeing what he's supposed to be, and now it's like he almost shows up and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to, I've got all these weapons. I'm going to be great. And now it's like, no, not really, because now you got Laporta out, so that's a weapon you've lost, and he's probably not coming back this year because it's back surgery. So now that's one less weapon. Teams are going to key on, St. Brown more. And of course, they're going to keep an eye on Gibbs. Gibbs makes that offense go. If you can, I don't think you stop Gibbs, but if you can control him, then you've got a good shot. And right now that they put up points, but I think slowly teams aren't as afraid of them as they once were.
No, and the two-headed monster of Gibbs and Montgomery is now just Gibbs. Montgomery's kind of been a forgotten man. And Laporta, to your point on Laporta, I mean, he's a guy that they weren't even using that much this year, even when he was on the field. So, I mean, it's really been whatever Gibbs 1, Gibbs 2, Gibbs 3, and then St. Brown gets his catches here and there, but he'll go chunks of the game where he's a non-factor.
Yeah, well, I think you're starting to see what, Dan Campbell's play calling is. I think what's going to happen is they're going to run Gibbs into the ground, and if he gets hurt, that offense is shot. That offense becomes mediocre at best. Yeah. So they've got to kind of figure out what this offense is going to be, especially if they want a legit playoff run. Because right now, today they're not winning the division today. Now, the Bears could just fall apart. Like right now, we're giving them their flowers, but they can go on a 4-game losing streak. Like, yep, that's the Bears. Okay.
Yep. I'm surprised about this now.
November 23rd, we were rocking with you. Then there you go. You screwed the pooch 4 straight weeks. So, and we don't know what the Packers are going to do because I don't believe in them either. No. So, it's like if the Lions really want,
what we do.
Yeah, JJ McCarthy. There you go. So it's really up to the Lions what they want to turn this into. But right now, right now you're like middle of the pack now if you're looking at the NFC, hierarchy.
No pun intended. Another team I certainly wish was not in playoff contention on the AFC side, and that's Jacksonville Jaguars. They had a fun one in the desert today. Jacoby Brissett almost won this one, but Jaguars survive in overtime.
I'm telling you, man, they're just a team that I don't know how they do it. It's like they play like absolute crap, but then they somehow they trip into a win. I've never seen a team play to lose for like 3 quarters and then trip into a victory in the 4th. And it's like, okay, here we are. But it's the Jags, man. I don't know. Arizona, I give them all the credit in the world, but they're just, it's like they have some talent, but it just doesn't fit right. It's like this hodgepodge of stuff, and like they'll go on these little spurts, but it just doesn't click when it comes to wins. The Jags are going to stick around. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. Like I really don't. They're in the hunt. If this was CBS, we'd have that column on the right, in the hunt.
Yeah. I think it's a coin flip right now between them and the Chargers, really, because I don't have a lot of faith in the Chargers. I mean, they win games. They're a very potent team, but they're another injury-riddled team, and they tend to drop games they should win. I mean, last week they lost to the Jags, and they got scraped by the Jags. So right off the bat, they don't have that tiebreaker. So I really think it's a coin flip. I think the only way, if it's one or the other, the only reason the Chargers win out of that is that the Jags completely fall apart.
If you had to pick a team to win, to save your life that day, right there, who are you picking? You taking the Jags or are you gonna take the Chargers?
I hope they both burn in hell, to be totally honest. But
Well, they can't burn in hell. You have to pick one to save your life. Like, this is it. Nutmeg, your life is at risk. Here you go. You gotta pick one.
Honestly, I would take the Jags. I would take the Jags only because their offensive line is at least healthy.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't have faith in any other part of that offense or defense or that. Well, I guess their defense is probably better than
their defense. Their defense. I'd say their defense, but I'm a glutton for punishment, so I would take the Chargers. I'm like, if I'm gonna go, I want to go in a blaze of glory. Let Herbie throw for 4 touchdowns, and I just lose out on something stupid. I'm going.
Buccs McGee, you're in that moment like, yeah, she cheated on me again, but I'll take her back. She loves me. It wasn't her fault.
But you know what? I'll come and get you in the end. Because when I die, I am gonna sit there and haunt Harbaugh for the rest of his life. But no, I get what you're saying exactly. I think the strongest part of the Jags game is definitely their defense. Their offense is just so sporadic. You can't figure it out, but they do just enough to win. I don't know if they're a playoff team, like I said, but they're in the hunt. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Brian Thomas, major bust.
Oh man, dude, like where has he been? Like literally, where has he been?
Bucks McGee, let's end the show on a positive note. For the first time in 18 career starts by Browns rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders takes the win.
Good job, Shedeur. Amen. Finally, something happens for that Browns franchise, and it's Shedeur Sanders, and most of America's probably like, damn it, because they don't want to deal with the Sanders family. But Shedeur Sanders leads them to victory. It also helped that Myles Garrett had like 3 sacks, I think, again. He's already got 18, so the man's an absolute freak. But this is Shedeur's time. You got to give him credit. He had a sweet 52-yard touch pass. He looked all right. He played. He got to play. And it's literally one game, so I don't think Browns fans should be sitting there saying, "Okay, here we go. Here's our future franchise Super Bowl winning quarterback." But the guy showed some talent, so I say you roll with him till the end of the year and you see what you get out of him. And if he can get you some wins, this guy needs to be in the mix starting next season.
Yeah, it's one game and it was against the Raiders, so it's kind of you do look at it through the lens of like, okay, Shedeur really had this set up in the best possible outcome with the opponent he was playing.
Oh no, of course, the Raiders have just been a hot mess. But at the end of the day, Shedeur was the 5th round pick. So at that point, you're like, all right, well, he's a 5th round pick. He might not be able to survive the Raiders. And
yeah, that's true.
the freaking Browns sacked freaking Geno 10 times. Like, this was an ugly game. But you know what? When you've got a defense like that, that allows your young quarterback to play. Because it's like, okay, they're going to do their thing. If I screw up or whatever, it's going to be all right. I just need to stick to the game plan. And he looked all right.
That Browns defense is one of the best sad stories of the year. The fact that they are so good, so competent, and it will just go for complete obscurity in the NFL books.
This defense has been good for about 3 to 4 years. They've been a legit defense, legit elite defense, 3 to 4 years. This defense to me is almost the equal to Joe Thomas on the offensive line.
Yeah.
All pro for 10 plus years and absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, Cleveland, can you figure it out? Can you figure it out? But maybe Shedeur is the piece where people will want to go all of a sudden want to play in Cleveland. Because I'm pretty sure, guys who are all pros and free agents are like, I'm not going to Cleveland. But Shedeur may, have a little juice, and next thing you know, Cleveland could be, a little something next year. But right now, Cleveland fans, congratulations. You've got a quarterback for this week, and he got you a win.
Yeah, and imagine if he plays well or at least above average throughout the rest of the year to make everyone think, okay, this should be the guy going into next year, and they still go back to Watson because of all the money they owe him.
I will tell you this, man. If that's the case, then the fans need to literally boycott that team and just move on, because that's ridiculous. That was the worst. That might have been the worst mistake in sports history. And just because you owe this guy all this money, just give him the money and send him off. Like, just get him out, move on. Like, you stupid mistake. Give him the money, move on. You now have a young guy who could maybe be a piece of your franchise going forward. If he pans out, you work with him, you see. But that's a lot. That optimism's a lot better than the masseuse bandit known as Deshaun Watson.
That's right. Well, Bucks McGee, happy times in Cleveland this week. Sad times for our teams, and a little bit of a clearer picture in some aspects of the playoff sphere in both conferences. So take us off, their final thoughts of Week 12.
It's just a rough day, man. Sometimes you gotta have them, you know. Sometimes you have the highs, and sometimes you just gotta take a whooping, you know. Sometimes you gotta take a whooping, and it is what it is. But like I said, the Rams are the team right now, and if anyone has any doubts, watch that game film. They are the real deal. Sam Darnold, shout out to you. Hell of a game again this week. Hawks are looking good. Shedeur, congratulations, man. You and Cleveland rock out tonight. Have a few. Cleveland is it. Everybody else, hopefully next week's a better week.